Okay, guys, welcome again to another exciting episode of Teams Like Brighton. We'll be chatting to Lee Ryder over at the Newcastle Chronicle later on in this podcast episode. But, of course, Richie, well, tradition's tradition of a week. Let's talk about all things Albion before we talk about our northern competitors. Fair bit of team news and a fair few exciting comments that Graham Potter said in the press conference yesterday.
Yes, there was, well, first off, in terms of injury news, very good on that front for Brighton. The only injury for them is Jakob Moder, who's obviously been out with an ACL injury since April. Other than that, it's the same squad he has available pretty much from the triumphant heroes that beat Manchester United 2-1 at Old Trafford last weekend. So I guess in terms of main takeaways, I would say there's probably like 4 or 5. One thing that I think most Brighton fans could agree on is Graham Potter usually 9 times out of 10 doesn't complain about decisions, the referees. It's just like control the controllables, move on. But after yesterday, so he's had quite a few days to reflect on some of the decisions that didn't go Brighton's way, namely Danny Welbeck, who should have had a penalty, and McTominay, who had a horrible challenge on Moises Caicedo. Arguably, that should have been a penalty and then a red card for McTominay. So he said, quote, "You need the little margins to go your way." And I didn't think we got either of those. I was asked afterwards about the penalty by me, which I thought was definitely a penalty. I don't like to speak about referees directly after the game, but I think they could have possibly gone down to 10 men. So, yeah, just want to get your thoughts there, Tom, because, yeah, as I said, he doesn't really talk about his stuff, but a little bit of a change there.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a different kind of attitude, because obviously when you spoke to him at the weekend, straight after the match, he didn't really care. He got 3 points. That's all that matters. And really, at the end of the day, but it is interesting how he's changed his tone all of a sudden and being like, no, we should have had a penalty, and we should have had a red card. We should have seen a red card. And again, I think the world and its mother completely agree. United fans even agree. Scott McTominay does seem to have a bit of a reputation for a few reckless challenges, bordering on excessive. But at the end, I think it's just very much a sign of the times. Usually, when United have those gifted moments where the decisions go their way, they get the momentum and then they go on to snatch a win when momentum's completely against them. But it doesn't seem the case. And I think that's a great example of showing how far United need to go back to the very top, because they're getting out the results, which I'm totally okay with because we won at Old Trafford.
Nice. Segueing on to the next bit, obviously there's been a huge amount written and talked about with Marc Cucurella, who is sadly no longer with us.
Yes.
He's with Chelsea. But yes, so he joined for 55 million plus 7 million add-ons a week ago today. And the debate that's been raging amongst Brighton fans is, are they going to sign a replacement? And the signs and the sounds coming out from Graham Potter is that he's very happy with the options he has. So last week he was asked about, do you feel that you're a little light in that area now that Cucurella's gone, given the fact that he could play a left back, left wing back, left centre back? And he basically said, we do have strength and depth, and the likes of Chelsea loan signing Levi Colwill and Joel Veltman could potentially play there. Veltman has played as a centre-back or a right-back more often than not really at left-back. And Colwill is versatile, but again, his best position is centre-back. So it seems like sort of, square pegs, round holes there potentially. So to quote him yesterday on sort of whether or not they will sign a Cucurella replacement, he said, we've got a few options there. It depends on the system and depends on how we want to play the game. We're comfortable there, but it's like anything, you have to keep looking to see if anyone can improve your squad generally when the window opens. But they like to be, they're not reactionary, like to be sort of anticipatory. So, I mean, Graham Potter doesn't usually talk about transfer stuff. He leaves that to the guys up top. So he may just be, I'm happy with what I got. I'm going to get on with it. There could still be movement behind the scenes. And I do understand that they are still sort of looking for left back, but no sort of solid targets. So yeah, Tom, do you think they need a replacement?
It's an interesting one because, in a way, I kind of get where Potter's going, because towards the end of the season, the second half of the season, the majority of the time, Cucurella was playing left centre back or left centre back role going wide. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he's going to make sure that Colwill on his loan, he's going to play a similar role and see how it goes into that. And yes, while we do have Veltman as a backup, not really strong on the left-hand side. And I think he'll have to play an inverted role so he can use his favoured right foot. It will open up a lot of space there, and I think that makes us vulnerable at the back. The only decent option we actually have that A, we know of, and B, we know for sure that you do play left wing back at the very least, is Solly March. And he was superb against United. But you can't rely on just that one person who is a solid out-and-out left winger, left wing back to play that role. Because if Solly gets injured, then that's where the strength in depth is shown him. I don't think it's that strong. I would love to see if we could get a left back replacement in from the Cucurella money and the Suma money. Gutted to see that we didn't get Sergio Gomez. I think I remember some reports on Twitter about it, and I thought, watching him last season, I thought he's a superb player. He would be great in the Premier League. Obviously, City beat him to it, which in a way, is kind of like it's written in the stars, isn't it? The fact that they managed to get someone that could be an ideal Cucurella replacement after missing out on Cucurella. But I've got full faith in the recruitment system that we have in place. Many times people want to get that quick short-term fix, but we're very much investing in the future. So I'm sure we've probably got one or two tricks up our sleeve. Who knows? We might actually sign someone. We know that it is a very, very it's all very much behind closed doors, very hush-hush. Rarely get any serious leaks early on in any negotiations. Yeah, we hear about scouts going and watching particular players, but we don't really hear about how high up they are on the priority list. So it will be interesting to see how we do in terms of the rest of the transfer window. On the side note, I do agree with what Paul Barber said. The transfer window should shut before the start of the season. And I believe that actually happened in Chris Hughton's last season at the Albion. And I really liked it. Or was it the first season? In the Premier League. I think it was the first season in the Premier League. I really liked it. I thought it worked well. Yes. Yeah, I really like that idea. I like that concept. Get all the players that you need to recruit, and then you could just focus on what you have and then build them up for the Premier League season. It's easier that way, because otherwise you have a full pre-season, and a lot of these teams now are recruiting now when the season started, and it's kind of like, it begs the question, what's the point of a pre-season? And then you're going to have to deal with the excuses in September saying, oh yeah, they've just got to settle in, they've got to gel in. It doesn't make sense. And it's frustrating for fans, and it's frustrating for clubs if it doesn't pay off instantly, because you need to. Because otherwise, if you're having 4 or 5 bad matches at the start of the season, you're in trouble. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how we do in the transfer business. I'm not that worried personally. I'm quite happy with our squad. I'm happy with the options in midfield as well. On another side note, but it'll be interesting to see what we do if there's going to be any more business at the MX.
Yes, it was interesting you say about you're happy with the squad. I will put something to you that maybe might change your mind, but we'll see. So yeah, obviously, if you look at the squad that we had last year, then you ask yourself the question, are we in a better place now? Obviously, we've sold Basuma and Cucurella. We've brought in the kind of the lone guys back, the Dennis Undav, Kaoru Matoma, and Kacper Kozlowski and Jean-Paul Van Heck and that sort of thing. And then they've also signed Julio Enciso. But specifically on Enciso and Kozlowski, Graham Potter was asked about what the kind of plans are for the two 18-year-olds. Both played in the under-21s for Brighton on Monday against Crystal Palace on 21. Sadly lost that 3-2, I believe. Neither were included in the matchday squad for Manchester United. So on those two, first off, Enciso, Graham Potter said, he played for them 21s. It was important for him to get a sense of football in this country, to get a feel for things. We will see how he is, but he's in and around the squad. There's lots of competition, and that's where we're at. And on Kozlowski, he added, he's a bit similar to Enciso in regards to his sort of situation, but he's had a little injury. He had a thigh injury in pre-season that he picked up at the start of July, and that forced him to miss the pre-season tour of Portugal in the middle of that month. He's a bit similar, but he's had a little injury, so it's a combination of getting him up to speed. He had some game time as well on the Monday game. So we're looking at what the right thing is for him to do to continue his development as a player. We've got a few weeks to make that call, but we'll see. So specifically on Kozlowski, it seems that they are weighing up a loan potentially. Enciso, I was a bit surprised that he wasn't included in the United squad, especially because they've got 5 subs now available. But so do you think they will both go, and do you think they should both go to potentially go away, get some more game time, and become better players, or do you think Brighton should keep it?
I really want to see both of them play in blue and white. I really do. I'm really excited about Kozlowski. I really like what I've heard about Enciso, and I just want to see how they do on the big stage. They get thrown in the deep end, see how they do, because in that sense, I don't want to see what they've got. I want to see how they can handle it. And I think it's good to have that kind of like that mentality of saying, welcome to the Premier League, lads. This is the standard. And then they go back and reflect and probably go and say to Potter and say, Gaffer, I probably should go on loan, or no, Gaffer, I want this. I've got a taste for it. I want to go and battle for place. Kozlowski, I really like the sound of, and from what I've seen over when he was at USG, really exciting Polish midfielder. I think he could be really good linking up in the final third with the attackers. And Ciso as well looks a very technically gifted player. But I think if we give them the chance, and it's a very young squad, they don't technically have to be registered either, so that helps out as well in terms of squad depth. And we can actually bring in someone else in, put them in the squad, registered squad anyway, who's got a little bit more experience, and we can get the floor running on that. I know you're trying to twist my arm here now. So now I'm verging on getting them online, but maybe see how they do in against the likes of Forest Green Rovers. If we could get a little good cup run going and give these players a chance, Kozlowski, Van Heck, who else? Offia, Matoma, and Ciso, give them a run just to get them feel of like the atmosphere of English football, and just get them to know like this is the standard that you need to reach. This is the standard you need to aspire to be. This is where you are at the moment. So just take it from there. I really think we should give them a chance. Give them a couple of appearances and then wait from there. We've got three, just under 3 more weeks, haven't we, if the transfer window closing?
Yeah, September the 1st it shuts.
Perfect. Plenty of games going on. Again, let's hit the floor running. Give them an opportunity. Or otherwise, we'll probably have to do a last-minute deal on loan. Again, it hasn't been a bad thing sending our players on loan. Ben White was superb. Where was he at? He was at Newport County and Leeds. Ben White was. Bobby Sanchez learned a lot when he was at Rochdale, I want to say. Yeah,
Forest Green Rovers first one, then Rochdale.
That's right, yes. Lee was in the League Cup. The side that got them to the League Cup against Old Trafford as well, I believe, from my memory as well. And you can see that works wonders for him. So it is the development side of things that we really need to give to these players. Alone is fantastic, but if they're good enough and capable enough to be in the first team, then there's no there's no reason for them not to appear.
Yeah, so just as Tom said, a little bit of housekeeping there. So yeah, Brighton have been drawn against Forest Green Rovers in the second round of the Carabao Cup, which should be on the week of August the 22nd. So looking forward to that. I think I don't actually off the top of my head know what their stadium's called, but I think it's probably going to be a very environmentally friendly, progressive, maybe vegan-based stadium.
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for that as an away day.
Yeah, are you going to go?
I'm definitely going to. Yeah, I'm going to try and get tickets. I can't deny an opportunity like that.
Yeah.
And again, it's a good possible fixture for us for potentially setting up a good cup run for our fringe players. Give Potter a chance to rotate, see what they're like on the pitch, rather than just on the training ground. So hopefully that's the start of something good. I would love a good cup run this season. I said this before. I want a good cup run. That's what I want.
Great stuff. But yeah, so moving swiftly on to another sort of interesting takeaway from the press conference. Danny Welbeck was talked about quite a lot, especially after his fantastic performance against Manchester United. Rio Ferdinand, I think in the week, said that he would have liked United to sign Welbeck this summer when he was a free agent. But I'm not sure this has been talked about that widely. But basically, Welbeck signed a 1-year deal last summer to stay at Brighton after the first year. And then the club exercised an option to extend his deal by a further 12 months. So his contract now expires next summer. So that's obviously great news. And as Graham Potter said, it's he says that Welbeck is, he's 31 going on 32 this year, but he's in the best condition he's seen him in since working with him since he joined from Watford in October 2020, which is a great sign. And hopefully he can have a great season. He was then asked, did you have any doubts that he might be able to keep Welbeck this summer? And Graham Potter said, I didn't have any doubts, no. It was a no-brainer to me because of what he brings on and off the pitch. He is as impressive off the pitch as he is on it. When you've got that, then you realise he is such a valuable asset. He was then asked, is it going to be sort of a case by year, just, 1-year extensions or that sort of thing? And he said, I'm not sure. That's between Welbeck and the club to decide what's best. So, yeah, it's good that Brighton have got him for another year. As I say, he's. I think there was a picture of him doing the rounds on social media where he was showing the gun show. Absolutely wedge. Not like me. But yes, he looks like he's finally got like a good pre-season under his belt, and he's looking pretty good. And hopefully he can do some damage against Newcastle.
Absolutely. And just going back on that as well, I think his contributions off the field will leave a lasting effect for years to come with the youngsters. He's got a great relationship with Tariq Lamptey that we know. No doubt he's probably welcomed in the new younger signings and told them this is what you've got to expect. This is you may be here, but you've got to be up here now. And he's seen it. He's been at the top with United, with Arsenal, Champions League appearances, England international. There's a lot there that Danny Welbeck has in terms of experience and a wealth of knowledge that really you can't buy. You just need to just get him at the right time in the right place to sign him. You've got that. And as Milana talks about their relationship as well and how significant they are in the dressing room as well, which is fantastic. And it's exactly what Potter wanted when they brought them in. It wasn't just about what they could do on the pitch, it's what they could do off the pitch. And I think that's a significant bit. And it's clearly working because there's such a good team chemistry, such a great dynamic at the club right now. And no doubt it's because of characters in the dressing room like Danny Welbeck, like Adam Lallana. And that goes a long, long way. And that will leave such a huge effect when the time comes when they leave the club. And I wish that Danny Welbeck was 22, not 32, and same with Adam Lallana, which was 10 years younger, because they're such good footballers. It's just a shame that they are on that dreaded wrong side of 30. But they, like you said, Danny Welbeck looks sharp, which is surprising considering his history with injuries and fitness. When he was at Watford, when he was at Arsenal, when he was at United, it just seemed to be a common theme. But with us, it's clicking, even when he's getting those handful of appearances and then having to sit out for a few more weeks. It's fantastic to see, and I'm really looking forward to him leading the front line.
Yeah, and another example, including in Alana, of the value of a free agent. You don't always need to smash the cash. But also, just a little side note, I saw there was a stat that said Welbeck, I think, topped in terms of like kilometers per hour. Like he reached, I think, 35 kilometers per hour, which was only below like Darwin Núñez, and that was like, so he was second in the Premier League. So he still got wheels. But moving over to Newcastle, obviously Brighton's upcoming opponents on whatever day we film this. Sorry, we're filming this on Friday, but it's on the Saturday, the game. So he talked about the dangers that Newcastle pose, and what was quite funny, he almost listed the entire starting 11, but he did say the kind of they've got a very impressive front six of St. Maximum, Wilson, Almiron, and then you've also got Joe Linton, who's been transformed, I think, since Eddie Howe's come in from a striker that cost like 40 million, but now he seems to be quite good as an attacking midfielder. Also, Joe Willock and Bruno Guimaraes, there, I think 40 or 35 million signing in January. But then he also said Kieran Trippier at right backs, great at crosses. And then, of course, they're looking forward to seeing Big Dan Burn, who obviously spent 3 years with Brighton and then joined Newcastle in January. So he said, yeah, they've got a strong team and strong individuals, and Eddie Howe has got them believing. There's a positivity, at Newcastle with everything that's happened off the pitch, and we need to be really strong. So, yeah, I mean, he's clearly an admirer of how they've done, and I think Newcastle actually, in terms of points accumulated in 2022, only Manchester City, Liverpool, and Tottenham have picked up more points than them. So it's definitely going to be a tough game.
Yes, and it definitely is when you look at the form that they've got in this calendar year alone. Clearly, Eddie Howe has made a very good impression on the owners, so much so he's now got a new long-term deal. And we spoke to Newcastle Chronicle's very own Lee Ryder, talking about all things Newcastle about it as well. Yes, and joining us on the podcast is none other than Newcastle Chronicle's very own Lee Ryder. Lee, good to have you.
How are you doing, guys? You okay?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
All good, Tar.
How are you?
Yeah, great, thanks. Looking forward to the long journey down to Brighton.
Yeah, a long journey for you guys, a long journey for the club as well. Have you heard the latest yet in terms of the team news?
Yeah, we were at the press conference this morning, and basically Eddie Howe said that Jamal Lascelles, the captain, has been past fit. So it'll be interesting to see how he lines up his defence on that one. And in terms of other injuries, you've got Jamal Lewis, and also Federico Fernandez, who aren't quite there yet. John Joe Shelby is unfortunately definitely out the side at the moment. So there's a number of injuries that we're dealing with at the minute. But defensively, the question is whether he sticks with the back four he had against Nottingham Forest. So that'll be probably the one to watch when the team sheet's released at 2:00.
Just on that point, Lee, who could maybe come in who wasn't? What could the switch around be, essentially?
I've got a funny feeling that he's going to stick with exactly the same team. Last week, the big surprise was that Sven Botman, the £34 million signing from Lille in the summer, he didn't make his full debut, and that was a bit of a surprise. Dan Burn got his place, someone who you know very well, and I think that looking at the prospects for the team sheet, I do think he's going to stick with pretty much the same team that he played against Forest. That was controversial in some ways because obviously Lascelles is the captain, but was named on the bench initially and then picked up an injury in the warm-up, which made him a doubt for this game, but he's now been past fit. So I think any player who's a captain of a team will want to be starting games. So that's probably the big talking point defensively.
And the big man who makes all the calls for the team, Eddie Howe, recently just signed a new long-term contract. How much of an impact has he had at Newcastle since he's joined?
Absolutely huge, really. I think the corresponding fixture last year, as you remember, Eddie Howe was actually in the stands and hadn't officially been announced, but he turned up at the Amex Stadium, and it was obvious that things were going to happen pretty soon after that game, and it was probably a tough start for him. Took a while to get his message across, but once it did, from January onwards, Newcastle were in European, probably Champions League challenging form. So it's been a big turnaround at Newcastle compared to another trip to Brighton with Steve Bruce, when Brighton absolutely steamrolled Newcastle that night, 3-0, and I genuinely thought Steve Bruce wouldn't survive the next day. He did, but as the takeover went through, a change of manager swiftly followed.
And one thing that I noticed when I went up to St James's Park was it looked like Newcastle had played the tactics of sort of a low block and then use the pace on the counter, and that was very evident in the second goal with Murphy and Fraser. Just wanted to get your thoughts on how they might sort of set up tactically for this one. They probably have got many strings to their bow at the moment, haven't they?
Yeah, I think, going back again to like Steve Bruce, I think games where he was in charge, probably Newcastle would have been cautious going to a place like Brighton, would probably park the bus even. But Eddie Howe, I think, will go for the jugular. So I think he'll say a 4-3-3 formation. Everyone knows the role, and they'll be trying to apply pressure at the Brighton goal pretty much from the first whistle. So I think they'll take a chance and try to get 3 points away from home, which would be a phenomenal start to the season.
And who would you say Newcastle will be relying on to make sure they get those 3 points at the Amex and make the long journey back home?
Yeah, I mean, you are looking at players like Callum Wilson, comes off the pitch, disappointed if he hasn't scored. He's one of them type of strikers, number 9. He's a team player, but by the same token, he knows his role. He knows he's there to get the goals. Someone like Alan St-Maximin did okay against Forest last week. Probably looking for a bit better from him this time around. So they would be the main two that I would think of. But Bruno Guimaraes, the Brazilian national midfielder, is a phenomenal player. He'll try and, whether he plays deep or going forward, he'll still try and open up the home team. So he's certainly one to watch as well.
And some people have been calling it, not me personally, but some people have said this is the Dan Ashworth derby. Obviously, he was at Brighton for a number of years and then finally joined Newcastle in May after, I think, looking to sign him for several months. Obviously, it's very, very early stages. But how has he done so far? Can you see sort of a clear sort of blueprint of how he wants to work, or is it kind of too early to really say?
I think obviously you'll know a lot better than me, but he come into a club at Brighton and he really reorganised the whole thing from top to bottom, 6 or 7 departments. I think he's trying to slowly work through that at Newcastle as well. So far, we've seen him involved transfer-wise. Obviously, 3 players coming in under his watch. I'm sure there'll be another 2 or 3 as well to come before the window's done. So certainly getting that reorganisation, something that Newcastle's lacked for a long time. Newcastle wanted the top guy in the country to reorganise the club, and I think they've got him in Dan Ashworth. I mean, to Brighton's disadvantage, I guess, but he's left behind a well-structured club and something that David Weir can build on. So really, from the supporters' point of view, they're looking now long-term at the next 3-4 years, and hopefully all those changes will come off.
And also as well, one person we have to talk about as well is Dan Burn. Came from the Albion. He's a Newcastle fan through and through. How's he been since making the move in January?
I have to say, Dan Burn, just an incredible sort of person. He's come into Newcastle and he's playing for his boyhood team, and he's given absolutely everything, which I'm sure he did for Brighton as well. But there's probably that little extra spark when you're playing for the team you support. For him, he may well have sat back in his career and thought it might not happen, but it did happen. The 13 million move went through, and since he's been here, he's been nothing short of sensational. On and off the field, that is, on the pitch, gives absolutely everything, throws his body in the way of anything for the cause. Off it, if Newcastle have lost a game, which hasn't been many times, but when they have, he'll face up to it after the game. Knows his responsibilities as a Newcastle player, Newcastle lad, and really, you've got to give him 10 out of 10 since he signed for the club, because he's been phenomenal. In my opinion, probably should be in and around the England squad. That's how highly I rate him.
Great. And final thing, sorry to put you on the spot, but what are your predictions for Saturday's match?
Yeah, I think it'll be a Newcastle win. You guys might not agree, but I think they'll go down there looking to get 3 points. I think it could be 3-1 to Newcastle on this occasion. I'd be happy with that.
3 goals. Blimey. I mean, I know Eddie Howe's got a good track record against us, but that's a bold prediction there.
We'll take it. This, if you can't be confident at this stage of the season, then But then again, Brighton last week at Man United, hats off to them, an amazing win at Old Trafford. So it won't be easy, but that's where the confidence is at Newcastle at the minute. So we'll see.
I kind of agree with you. I think it's going to be quite an end-to-end game. I think there are going to be goals, but I think it's going to be on as even. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. That's where I'm going to be. What about you, Richie?
I have given about 4 different predictions in the last 24 hours. But after the United win, I think it's going to be 2-1 Brighton. But it really, I think I was also thinking 1-1 and then 2-2. So I'm not exactly, this is not the hill I'm dying on. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to a good game, because I think it will, personally, these are 2 teams that are really on the up. And it's interesting to see who might sort of be the ones closest to potentially reeling in the top guys. Obviously, Newcastle are probably better primed to do it with the resources and that. But yeah, definitely 2 teams on an upward trajectory.
Excellent stuff. Well, Lee, we'll wrap that up there. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And enjoy the game at the weekend.
You too. See you later. Cheers. Thanks now.
So something a little bit different, perhaps some random news, a blast from the past, or not even that long ago. Former Brighton forward Jurgen Locadia, a bit of a divisive, polarizing figure for some, has joined Iranian side Persepolis. Sorry if I'm butchering that pronunciation. But yes, so he's joined the Iranian team on a 1-year deal. Obviously, Brighton signed him back in 2018, 14 million, I believe, a club record fee at the time, but he scored just 6 times in 46 appearances, then had fairly underwhelming loan spells at Hoffenheim and FC Cincinnati. He surprised pretty much everyone when he returned to Brighton last summer and played a few times in cup games, and I think once in the Premier League as well. But then he left the Seagulls in January and joined Bundesliga side Bochum until the end of the season. He scored 2 goals in 13 games, but he was then released. And now he's joined the Red Army, as they're called. And according to the Tehran-based team's website, Locadia rejected offers from several Dutch teams to join them. And they play in a stadium that's nearly 80,000 seats. They're the most successful team in the country domestically, and their new season gets underway this weekend. So yeah, a bit of an interesting one, that.
Completely random. I thought I didn't even realise that he was released from Bochum. But yeah, it's a funny transfer, wasn't it? Because he came in with such a lot of promise from PSV, didn't really hit the ground running for us at the Albion, which is a shame. I could feel they had a bit of promise, and then the music might have been a bit of a distraction. Who knows? No, mate, maybe one or two okay songs, but it just didn't seem to work out for him, and I don't know what happened there. Maybe the change of manager didn't help matters either, but he didn't look that bad to fall so dramatically. I don't know what happened to him at Cincinnati in the MLS. Granted, I believe it was their first ever season in the MLS, Cincinnati. So that might not have helped matters. The fact that there's not the infrastructure or sort of like the facilities in place for him to actually really hit the ground running there. And over in Bundesliga, I mean, Hoffenheim are a very well-established Bundesliga side, and it just didn't seem to work. At Bochum, it just didn't seem to work, and now he's hit the reset button massively by going to the Middle East and Iran. So fair play to him. Big audience, still 30,000 seats, so that'll be interesting to see. I hope he does well. I'm quite surprised that he's rejected a few Dutch clubs as a result. Maybe he just wanted to escape it all, the same as Aaron Connolly, who admitted that he just needed to just get out of the group of people they was with and just hit the reset button on his career, and hopefully he can get himself back to that level where he believes he is and what the club first saw in him. And I hope that's the case. I hope it's the case, because I was a bit pessimistic around Connolly towards the end, like most people were. I hope I get proven wrong. I hope he gets back to where he is, because he signed a big deal after the third match. We scored 2. Clearly, it was a vote of confidence for him. But yeah, fair play to Locadia. All the best to him. Yeah, but very, very, very odd transfer, I have to say. Did not see that one coming.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, just in terms of. So I obviously only started covering Brighton in 2020, so I kind of don't know what the feeling was like when he signed for the club initially, because he was pretty prolific at PSV. But it seems like almost a bygone era where Brighton are spending sort of club record fees on players from different leagues. You know, him, Alireza Jahanbakhsh, they spent quite a lot of money on those two. Didn't really come off. It seems like now Brighton are, they're signing youngsters from different leagues, but not spending a great deal. You know, usually 5 million below. I mean, they've spent a little bit more on very highly rated teenagers in Enciso and Kozlowski. I think between them they cost 17 or so million. But yes, an interesting chapter, definitely closed a while for Locadia. But interesting one. I saw him a couple of times last season. I just thought he didn't look up to the pace of things.
No,
I think it was very much an example of Brighton. Sort of that was the Brighton of then. This is where they are now.
Yeah, absolutely. It just didn't seem to work. He just didn't seem to fit the transition that Potter was looking for in his first year or so at the club. And at the end of the day, if you don't fit the manager's needs, you're going to be shown the door, and it's as simple as that. But hopefully he does well. Wish him all the best. But yeah, sadly, it just didn't work out for him at the Amex.
Yes, well, hopefully one thing that will work out at the Amex is a Brighton victory over Newcastle on Sunday. Hey, like what I did there. So Sunday, Saturday. Oh, idiot! So I just ruined it all there.
Smooth, and then it messed up.
But so one big, really exciting game to look forward to. Hopefully a Brighton win. Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Teams Like Brighton, and we'll catch up with you at the start of next week for our post-match, post-press conference thoughts on hopefully a glorious Brighton victory. But from Tom and I, thank you and farewell. Farewell.